Thanks to Joe Biden's administration, a family who is from Germany who sought refugee status here in the United States because they were facing persecution in Germany is at risk of being deported. Wait till you hear this story. Think about, and you can contrast this story, and I'm sure you will right off the bat, with the open border on our southern border. All these people that are crawling under fences, having Border Patrol cut the wire. They are trafficked up here, and then the Biden administration just lets them fade into the shadows. There's no accountability. They might be given a court date that doesn't mean anything, but they're never deported. They're never held accountable. They're never actually followed or tracked. They're just allowed to be here in the United States, even though they came here illegally. Contrast that with this family from Germany who sought refugee status here in the United States because the German government was persecuting them for the crime of homeschooling their children. Listen to this. This is from standingforfreedom.com. And they write, after being allowed to live in the United States as asylum seekers for 15 years, one German family was told, allegedly without reason, that they will be sent back to Germany, the nation that fined them and threatened to take their children away for homeschooling. In 2006, Yui and Hannelore Romeike became convinced that they needed to homeschool their children. Our oldest children were in school in the German public schools, and their personality literally changed, Yui said. We wanted to help them grow up in what they believed in and what we believe in and not get basically indoctrinated with something we don't want. This according to the parents. Specifically, the Romeikes, who have 7 children, possessed 2 core beliefs: a deep conviction that they were responsible to God for their children's education, and a growing concern that the content of the German public schools curriculum, particularly anti-Christian and sexual elements, threatened to harm their children. Now, in Germany, Standing for Freedom writes, it's illegal to homeschool your children. And the government fined the Romeikes an oppressive amount that actually exceeded their income. The German government even removed the children forcibly and took them to public school. The family were threatened with permanent removal of their children if they did not comply by sending the children to public school. In 2008, the Romeikes applied for and received visas to move to America, where they face a legal battle over their right to stay in the U.S. In the U.S., federal officials argued they had no right to stay because Germany's law did not persecute based on any one religion. Eventually, after a petition was sent to the White House with over 120,000 signatures, the Romeikes were granted asylum and have lived in Tennessee for 15 years. But then on September 6th, the Romeikes were informed at a routine check with Immigration and Customs Enforcement that they must secure German passports and be deported. The Romeikes claimed no documentation or any reason was given, only that there had been a, quote, change of orders. Since moving to the U.S., Yui and Hannelore have had 2 more children, and 2 of their German-born children, who are now adults, have married U.S. citizens. One of the adult children recently had a child of their own. Everything is here in America, Yui stated. We don't have any place to live there. I don't have any work to provide for my family over there. If forced to return to Germany, they will face the same issues regarding homeschooling their younger children as they did 15 years ago. They are right now being represented by the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Think about this. Because they wanted to homeschool their children to protect them from the influences of graphically sexually graphic materials in school and anti-Christian influences. They had their children taken away. They were fined. They sought asylum here in the United States. They were given, and then all of a sudden, 15 years later, coincidentally, they're told they have to leave. Let me tell you, this is no coincidence. In chapter 8 of my book, Hide Your Children, Exposing the Marxists Behind the Attack on America's Kids, I talk about the Marxists' attack on homeschooling. It's only going to escalate. So this is what they do. This is their playbook. First, they claim that homeschoolers are abused at a higher rate than public school children. They say parents just claim they're homeschooling their children so that they can abuse them in secret and no one will ever notice. Now, this is a false claim. Studies and statistics show that homeschooled children are actually abused at a lower rate than children who attend public school. If you go to public school, you're more likely to be sexually and physically abused. That's a lie. So then the left, these Marxists, immediately pivot to, well, it's not that children who are homeschooled are more likely to be abused, it's that homeschooling as a practice is abusive. And the argument that they give for why homeschooling as a practice is abusive is because they say it, quote, deprives children of a public school experience. Because people on the left understand that homeschooling poses an existential threat to their universal Marxist indoctrination of children, which is the only way the left knows of to turn a free nation into a communist nation, is to capture the minds and the bodies of children before those children are formed, to radically alienate them from parents. I write more about this in my book. If you haven't gotten your copy, go to hideyourchildrenbook.com. Get your copy now, because these attacks against homeschooling, especially given how prevalent homeschooling has become after COVID, are going to escalate, and they're going to escalate quickly, and we need to know how to fight back. There's also a petition, by the way, to petition the White House to prevent the deportation of the Romeikis. You can sign that petition. I highly recommend and encourage you to sign that petition. Write to your member of Congress and make sure that they know about the situation with the Romeikis. If our southern border is open to gang members and military-aged males who are coming on their own, not families, seeking only opportunity and government welfare, and we let them in and we don't deport them, the very least we can do is grant asylum to a family who was facing the threat of the German government taking away their children for the crime of homeschooling.